There's supposed to be some more people joining online. So, but the formal program doesn't start till 9:30. So, welcome everybody. Nice to see you all. How was your weekend? Did you do anything exciting on the weekend?
Dress shopping for my daughter.
Nice. That's good. Come on in. Oh, look, see? The plane's before the train. If you need coffee, tea, how about a chia pudding or an oats or something? Have you had breakfast? They feed you?
I did. Thank you.
They fed you on the plane, but they don't really feed you very nicely.
I ate a good breakfast before I came. Thank you.
Right. This is a forum that we started 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, a while ago anyway. And it was started because, we obviously represent businesses in association. And is that Jane? Oh, sorry, I just hear people coughing out there. But somebody's choking. I'm sure my team's working on whoever's choking. So because we represent the businesses in Spain, we've done this a few times. We want to look after all of the people. And we would get feedback from people like Tiffany when she worked at LTS, and we'd get feedback from, or Jo was new and she's like, oh my goodness, what's this Spain firm? How do they know what they're doing? And Wendy, at CMS. And so we got this feedback. I'm like, okay, well, we need to do something, because if you big firms are having challenges, oh my goodness, imagine how the small firms are going, right? And so we started this forum, and for a little while the last couple, we've had lots and lots of people come, surveyors, because they need points. Slackers. No, not slackers. Well, Dave, you're here. You're here for very important reasons. But we would have people because they were, and so we sort of mixed it up a little bit, and we did a lot of stuff on productivity, and we talked about how we should store things in the cloud and all those sorts of things is what we've done. But, it's good because I feel like we're getting down to the nuts and bolts, and you all have been pretty committed to the whole process. So, Rachel, you've been involved pretty much early on. Certainly Jo's been in it from the beginning. Wendy's been around in it, but Linda, is this your first one?
Yeah, it is, yeah. This
okay.
Relates more to me, I think, than it relates to her.
Yeah, good. And Karen, you've been to a couple, and Naomi, you've been to all of them, I think.
Has there only been 2?
Oh, no, there's been 3.
2 I've been to. This is my 3rd.
Good, okay. All right, good. And Sally, you've been to a couple, I think, as well. Hi, Rani, welcome. So what we'll do to start is we'll just do a bit of a go round, and we'll just get you to talk about who you are, what firm you're from, where your firm is located, your role in the firm, and maybe sort of what your biggest pain point is right now when it comes to sort of that. Because what we want to do today is we're going to input to you, but really much of today will come from your learnings from one another and from your talking to one another. And we've brought some key speakers for you and some key people that we think can present to try and help some of those problems that we've got internally. But we've sort of overcome sort of some of those big issues, like it was all about timesheets and what are we doing? So we've sort of overcome that. And so what's next? What are the big challenges going forward that we as a group can potentially try to tackle on behalf of the profession, really, is what we want to talk about. So let's go around, and we'll include our people online as well. So Naomi, and actually, sorry, I just have to tell you that on your tables here, we're ordering lunch from this place. So that's your lunch order. So you just have to give it to us by morning tea so that we can get your lunch by morning tea time. Okay? Just saying, that's what we're doing. Okay, so let's go. I'm going to sit down because I'm not actually presenting, but I'm pretty sure you'll still see from this middle camera here. So, and tell me if you can't hear, won't you, or something, if something happens and you can't hear us. But hopefully the sound. So this is a sound microphone, right? These are microphones. So if you talk, like if you two talk back there, it'll interrupt the sound. So whilst I want us to have conversation, be aware that it'll make it hard for the people online to hear. So Naomi.
I'm Naomi. I'm from PHL Surveyors. We're a small firm, small compared to some of the big ones here, big firm for regional areas in Griffith, New South Wales. I'm the office manager, and I've been there about 2.5 years now. Probably one of the most frustrating things is essential energy. and often council.
And council?
Deal with a lot of the applications and that for clients as well. So getting things through and some of the rules being different case by case can be very frustrating. It's getting better, the surveyor's advice letters, I will say. There's been some improvement.
Some discussion about that at the roadshow, so yeah, it's good. Thank you. Very good. Sarah?
Karen, I work for Beveridge Williams. We're multidisciplinary surveying, engineering, planning, water resources company. We've got 4 offices in Sydney, and I'm office coordinator for Western Sydney, and I've just taken on Oran Park. Wollongong. And my biggest problem at work is communication between all the disciplines. Getting them to talk.
Getting the engineers to talk to the surveyors and the surveyors to talk to the planners, and because they're all right. The surveyors are the best. And then there's all the others.
And I've been working there for 3 years. It's a long time.
Yes. Good.
I'm Linda, I'm from CMS Surveyors, and we're just on the Northern Beaches at DY. I'm the accounts and payroll manager, and I've been there for 10 years as a full-time and as a consultant bookkeeper before that. There's 84 staff there, and my biggest pain point is still timesheets. Getting them to fill them in properly. And also, I suppose the surveyors don't really understand the business side of it. They don't understand that there's so many different facets of why you fill in a timesheet. So, that's our pain point.
G'day everyone, my name's Rick. I work for Transport for New South Wales State Government, based out of Orange. I'm a survey office manager out there at Parks, where the office is. I've got a team of 15, so I'm a registered surveyor. We don't have any admin staff or anything like that. So yeah, I guess I'm mostly here to increase my, survey business administrative skills. And I guess my main frustration is people management and working with different people in terms of neurodiversity and things like that. So I'm sure I'm fine with the technical ability, but it's all the management skills.
Or sit there or there. You can sit wherever you like to. And so when you say there's no admin, is it just all surveyors do the admin?
Yeah, so I'm 15 surveyors at 148 surveyors, 3 in sport, 3 admin staff, so I'm all in admin.
Fine. Good. Jo?
I'm Jo from STG. I've been there 3 years, but based in Port Hills. I'm the office manager. We have about 53 staff, I think, at the moment. My biggest frustration would be probably trying to get the surveyors to do what I want them to do.
Yes. That's what we all want. Yes.
I see my things as being important. Sometimes I need a bit of a nudge.
Yes, because the survey matters more than anything else, right?
Absolutely.
And nothing else matters.
It should, but it's still important.
Yes. I agree. I hear you.
My name's Helen Hervigen from Bar Stewart Associates in Tamworth. We purchased the business 2 years ago, so I'm extremely new to the whole surveying industry. I do accounts and human resources at the moment, and what we're sort of trying to get our head around a little bit at the moment is sort of processes, time management, procedures, systems, etc. So that's what we're working on at the moment. A bit frustrating.
So my name's John from Bar Stewart Associates. I'm very fortunate to have Helen jump across and help us in the business. So I think my trip down to Sydney has been worthwhile with that terminology, neurodiversity, because we've definitely got something in our business. It's just trying to work out how to manage that is probably where we're up to. So our main issues are work levels and staffing levels, and trying to manage that and attract people into the profession.
It's good. Oh, John's also a business academy graduate, just saying. So there'll be expectations today that you'll be able to add.
My name's Rachel. I work for Survey Plus. We're located in Sydney and Dural. I think we have 18 staff members now. I'm the office manager. My biggest issue is time and time management, and probably staff sticking to their actual job and not feeling like they need to do everybody's job. Yeah. That's probably our most frustrating thing in the office. Our surveyors are highly trained at the moment, but that changes. So yeah, it's a good job. I like it.
My name's Jane Brandon from Australian Survey Solutions, based down in Bowral. I'm the director. I'm the one who does everything that's not surveying, I suppose, although we do also have program schedulers and stuff, but accounts office stuff and keeping husband on track. I don't know. So I think you all know that's a
Yeah, that's right. Helen and Jane, you two need to talk.
I think we've got 14, 15 staff at the moment. I can't remember. I noticed that everyone seems to be, I think we've got this many. Isn't it interesting how it changes? So like the ups and downs, they're at TAFE, they're at anyway, and I don't know. I might have missed the beginning of it. My biggest frustration at the moment is clients, so I'll just be quiet.
That's all right. There's none of them in the room, so that's all right.
You've had enough of them, seriously.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Cut them off.
Yeah. No, just want them to pay. Simple.
Okay. Sally?
Hi, thanks, Michelle. I'm Sally Bertoli, so from Headlands Consulting, located in Tamworth, also with an office in Armidale as well. So I'm the finance and HR manager here, and have been for about the last 15 months. Biggest pain point is probably just communication for our team and getting our young workers, I guess, helping them to communicate with as a team and with their managers as well, staff resourcing, training, all of those sorts of things. And also client paying on time as well is another one that's always ongoing. So,
Yes. Rani?
Morning, everyone. So I've been at Landair Surveys for 13 years. We've got an office in Ringwood, Victoria. That's and also,
I'm just going to change you up, Rani. Hang on a minute. I'm going to figure out how to change you up. I think I've got a remote control here. I'm pressing the button and nothing is happening. Let me try here. Okay, try again, Rani.
can you hear me?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. So I've been at Landair Surveys for 13 years now. I'm the office manager. We have an office in Ringwood, Victoria, which is where I'm based, and also an office in Gordon. We've got 24 staff, and my biggest frustration would be with the surveyors. They don't know the difference between an FPOS receipt and a tax receipt, and they're forever giving me FPOS receipts. It drives me nuts.
That's okay, isn't it? We'll ask the accountant later whether that's okay.
Biggest concern, I'll be happy.
Yes. Good, okay. Excellent. Yes, well, that's a very good point. I confess, I travel a lot, and sometimes you'll buy something and they do only give you an FPOS receipt, and you have to specifically remember to ask for a tax receipt. And often the staff behind the counter don't know how to do it. So, yeah, it's I'm feeling guilty as I talk to you there, Rani. Anyway, I'll do better. Good, okay. Ming Yang, you got a camera? Have you got a camera?
Yes, hi, how are you?
Good, we're just doing introductions, who we are, where we're from.
Yes, hi there. My name is Marcus. I'm from ISA Surveyors. I'm just a registered surveyor, and then plus the currently company director within the company, and we have about 25 billable staff. For us, the challenge in terms that is probably the timesheets. Probably that's the main thing, and getting surveyors to fill in their times on time. Probably that's the main goal for us at this stage.
Great. Well, nice to have you with us, Marcus. Welcome.
Thank you.
So see, it's sort of the same problems wherever you go, over and over, and how do we combat those? I am not going to promise you that we're going to find the answers today to all of your problems, But you should be encouraged to know that you're not the only one who experiences this pain, and maybe there will be some tips and tricks. So one of the things I might do at morning tea is I might call Ed from Abtrack and maybe see if he could jump in and do a little bit with us at some point around, particularly around timesheets and about how do we get people to fill them in. Maybe he's got a tip or a tool to help you do that. I don't know if my board want me to start keeping timesheets, and I say to them, but I'm not a surveyor. I don't want to keep timesheets. Anyway, I said to I thought I could say, sure, if I could bill you by the quantity of those timesheets. I probably won't make that up, but you know. Right, okay, so is there any other burning issue, we've all sort of said what our issues are, is there any other burning issue that you really want to hope that we get to today that sort of hasn't been mentioned that you've thought of as we've gone round?
I'm searching for like the right staff member for specific positions.
Yep.
On that note, for regional firms,
yes,
how do you make them want to come to the middle of nowhere? I mean, not the middle of nowhere, it's a lovely town, it really is, but
it's the food bowl of the country.
To get someone from Sydney is not easy.
Yes, I agree.
Far enough away from Sydney that they can't get enticed by the big doors of Sydney.
That's it. But we can't even get people in Sydney. So.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a challenge all over, isn't it? And we could get Helen to because Helen in her previous role was a careers advisor at a school, so still sort of semi. And so you might also have some tips around that. So we'll make sure we talk about that. So what we've got is we've got a program of stuff for you today, but at the end of the day, we want to really try and tackle some of these things. And whilst I don't think there is any huge solution, many of you have done Working Genius with me, and about, how that at least helps you kind of target who you might want, how to get the team working a bit more effectively together. And I'll do a bit on communication later that we can delve into some of that and talk even some more around some of those spaces. So I really want today, I don't want it to be like a seminar where we just talk at you. I want to make sure that it's engaging and that you're all learning from one another and that we're all inputting. And as I said, clearly the timesheet thing's still a big issue. So I'm going to ring Ed and see if we can get him to jump on from New Zealand and do a bit with us at some point during the day. So I'll call him at morning tea and see, or I might jump out while you guys are talking and see what we can do there. So great. Okay, so first up today then, we're going to tackle the finance problem. So these guys have heard us talk about getting people to do tax receipts and why timesheets matter for profitability, I think would be the angle there, because we don't just fill out timesheets so that we can pay them correctly, do we? Really, that's not really what it's all about. So, so what does that look like and what does that mean? So, that we have a legal partner in Holding Redleg, and that's been great. And there's lots of legal support that they can give, but I've been on the hunt for a financial partner for a long, long time. And so Tiffany Wagstaff, who most of you will know because Tiffany was a manager at LTS Surveys for a long time. And, but, she's an accountant. It's all right, we won't hold it against her. And so she went back to her roots, I suppose you would say, and is now working for a large financial management firm, People and Partners, and they've become great partners with us, and they've been doing a couple of roadshows with us in Queensland and presenting at the roadshow. But today, because Tiffany knows all of you and understands your pain, she has exactly the right thing to come and talk with us about, and she's going to talk to us about, finance and those things. And Hadrian is also with us, and Hadrian is he deals with interim CEOs, interim CFOs. So one of you mentioned that you were a consultant bookkeeper, and you were bookkeeping too, for them. So should we be outsourcing that component? Should we be insourcing it? What does that look like? What are the opportunities around some of that and so on? So I think that's what these guys are going to present. So please welcome Tiffany and Hadrian. I think I've got your presentation. I'm going to share it on the screen. So I've got the chat open here on my laptop. So if you want to ask a question, any of you online, please feel free to just jump in. We will hear you. It's quite loud in here. So feel free to just jump in and ask a question or put something in the chat if you'd like to. Remember, we're going to do communication later, so you can't just get away with chatting. you will have to ask out loud, girls and Marcus. So if you've got a question, as I said, let's make this as interactive as we can.
You've got a little clicker, Michelle.
Michelle, sorry, when you offered before to one of the things we'd hope to learn at some stage, it might be relevant to some, but not all. I'm interested in the exit strategies of the older surveyors and how different firms put different strategies together to get the young people in and involved in the business, so then the older outgoing directors can exit the business financially sound instead of having to just tied up and close doors.
Huge issue, succession everywhere. Absolutely. And we can talk to you more about that in morning tea as well if you want, and then later on if you want some guidance.
Maybe it's the structures bit.
Yeah, 100%. You come now.
Yes, and so just letting everybody know, we can see you on the bottom of the screen still. So if you want to keep your camera on and talk to us and feel like you're part of the room, you are here, but we can see the PowerPoint more bigger.
We're not, are we?
No, so there's a camera there and there's a camera there. So what you have to just watch out for, because I do it all the time, is don't stand here and don't bend over.
Okay, thank you, Michelle, for the introduction, and hi to everybody online. Nice to see you all, and I think we've said good day to everybody in the room today. As Michelle said, we're from People and Partners, and we're going to talk about being the CFO for a surveying firm today. So also, as Michelle alluded to, I did work in one of their pure surveying firms in Sydney for about 7 years in their GM role. I'm an accountant by trade, and Hadrian is also an accountant. Sorry, let's just make sure that's going to work.
Maybe just click. Sure, just maybe click into it.
Is that working?
No, we're not moving. I have to aim it at something. No. Oh, here we go. There we go. Okay, so first of all, it's just a little bit about People and Partners to give you some context. We are now in partnership with Surveyors Australia, which is lovely to be still involved with the surveyors because they are a great group of people. We see a real need, or a great affinity with some of the firms there and some great opportunity because the CFO space, there's a lot involved in that, and we'll go through that in just a second. And not every firm has the in-house capability to run all of that well. So to have a hybrid solution, outsource some of those functions or just get the advice that you need is pretty critical. HP, I might just get you to give a little bit of background on yourself. I think Michelle's covered off a fair bit about myself, so maybe you can introduce them before we move on.
Thanks, Tiff. So as Tiffany said, I'm an accountant. I've been a chartered accountant for about 14 years now, ticking 15. Worked with a lot of private businesses across different industries, but the main focus is about growth. So growth and strategy and focusing on a plan on where you are today, where you want to get to. And everyone builds a great plan, but they don't actually put the steps in to progress and go, well, have we checked whether we are on track and where we're going? Second piece is around the finance function, which is that CFO space. And everyone talks about CFO being this corporate top end of the market person that manages the finance function. But we're going to cover it today, which is really about operationally, how do you handle finances? But then strategically, how do you take those numbers and interpret it, take it to the next level, look at performance and so forth. So that's basically what I focus on, and I'm pretty passionate about that space.
And also just to give a little bit of context, if you think about probably everyone looks at their accountant and their financial services people and go, oh, they're all a bit scary, don't really understand that. But our business runs exactly the same as all of your businesses. We're professional services. And to steal a saying from, I don't know how many of you know Adam Burt from Position Partners, but you guys are outdoor accountants, really. So our business runs exactly the same as you guys. We have the same issues talking to our staff, talking to our technical people, filling in timesheets, billing on time and all those kind of things, right? So the way we run is exactly the same way as you guys run. All right, so what we're going to cover off today, and hopefully so trying to make this pretty relevant to day-to-day operational stuff and pain points for people. So we're going to talk about the fundamentals, the framework of everything that's involved in CFO. So CFO, of course, really I think is the engine room, HP, of running any business, and there's so much involved in it.
but depending on the size of your business, various people take on various parts of these roles. So from anyone doing payroll to accounts payable to doing budgeting and forecasting to doing succession planning, all of that stuff comes under the CFO umbrella. So it's all really relevant, and there's many ways that you can pull all of those functions together within your firm, right? So it's just about understanding what they are and the best way to run it. There's no right or wrong. I feel like it's just the best way to run it for your particular firm and what you're comfortable with. We'll look at cash is king, of course. Not undervaluing yourself when you're pricing jobs, billing on time, how that affects cash flow and what have you. That was a significant problem when I was in the surveying world. I think it's still a significant problem today in any business, really, particularly when you're trying to attract new clients, retain them, where do you price yourself, all that kind of stuff, so that you can make money.
And at that point, we'd probably cover off on the timesheet side of things, why timesheets are important. It's not about recording time, but understand the cost behind the job, how that's delivering your projects.
Yeah, and I think educating surveyors on exactly that goes a long way to solving the timesheet, to be fair. So we'll look at that. We'll look at a little bit of other risks in your business, strategic risks, operating risks, etc. Stakeholder management, who are they, what do they need to know? And then pulling it all together, which is the important part. What do you do in-house? What do you outsource so that you get all of the expertise that you need to run a cracking business in the most cost-effective way for yourselves and for the business? All right, so to move on. Okay, so what is CFO? What does CFO cover? So we break this into the day-to-day, really, and into the framework for CFO. Budgeting and forecasting, I think HP number one in terms of if you haven't got a plan, if you don't know where you're going, you're not going to get there, right? Pretty critical. Cash flow management, which we'll come to in a little bit more detail shortly. Cost management, again, very important in the day-to-day. Performance and REM management, very typical and topical for everybody, and also one of those ones where communication is key in managing your teams. Compliance, which is a necessary evil, your BAS, tax, payroll tax payments, and all those things. Asset finance, which is a big one. What finance do you have in place for all your equipment, your fleets of utes, all that kind of stuff. Planning, which is critical. Business modelling, so if you want to change business direction, you're looking at, acquisitions, mergers, all those kind of things, or even just diversifying, I guess, modelling that up to see how that works. Capital structures, risk management, and the stakeholder communications, right? So they're all the pieces in the wheel that need to be working well, to get the business really humming and going in the direction that you want it to go. So, we feel like if all of that's, running well and being looked after, well, then your wheel's turning pretty well, right? And so you're going to get where you want to go. If you're lacking in some of these areas, then it's probably going to get a bit stuck and not be moving in the right direction. All right, so moving on, the first thing we'll sort of take a bit more of a look at is cash, the importance of pricing and resource allocation. So we've done a little bit of an example here on, how you're pricing your jobs, what resources that you're allocating to the jobs, and really how you're planning that at the start. HB, do you want to just touch on the timesheet thing here before we get into this example? I mean, I think one of the important things about having people record time is to really understand how long it takes to do certain types of jobs so that you can price them properly the next time you're quoting or what have you.
Yeah, that's right. So timesheets to begin with, we have the same issue. No one likes to put their timesheet in because they consider it as administrative tasks, right? To go into time, narrate it. I'd rather get on with the job is what the comments we hear in our firm. But timesheets are there, as you can see, is around costing, understanding the value of that staff member or the experience level delivering that piece of work. So working at the right levels is one of the conversations we have is you don't want someone senior working on some sort of administrative or lower level task which requires not much input but day-to-day process. Now, if that person's working at the right level, we should be looking at growth, we should be looking at review on that engagement. as opposed to a task that it could be done by a more junior staff member. Now, those timesheets also reflect, as I said, experience, but the level of pay that you remunerate that individual. So as people would like a pay rise year on year, we need to adjust those timesheets to reflect the cost of serving that job. So
you're saying do your timesheet or don't get a pay rise?
Not exactly, not that blunt, Michelle.
Timesheet to justify how you can achieve pay rise.
Correct, right? Absolutely. So if you want to come in and ask me for a pay rise, I'm like, well, why should I give you one? You know? Yeah, where's your productivity at? How are you sitting? Have you made money for them? Have you made money on a job, right? And then, you know, for us looking at the timesheets, of course, it's like you've got new people or people kind of climbing the ranks in terms of their capability. If they're blowing out their time so badly on a job, well, then we look at it and go, well, there's a training gap there, right? So obviously, what are they doing? Why is that blowing out so much? So much information comes from timesheets. You know.
The other piece with the charge out rates and timesheets is if you are getting a pay rise, that you are adjusting the timesheets and the charge out rates to reflect that. You don't want someone charging at a lower rate and their salary is going up, but their true cost isn't reflected on the job as they charge their time.
Exactly right. So that's what you have to be able to say to someone that wants a pay rise, right? Well, if your pay goes up, then your charge out rate goes up as well. So is that recoverable? Is the client going to pay for you to get a pay rise, basically, right? Or in order to ensure that we're still profitable. And it also, you know, correct timesheeting, I think, is very useful in terms of then going back and reviewing those jobs for the next year or the next job or whatever, and being able to price your next job.
If clients are questioning your invoice or questioning the work that you've done, you can substantiate to say, well, you know, our draftsman has actually spent 3 weeks working on this piece because of out of scopes or change in, you know, our discussion. So you can justify the value of the work you're delivering. But if the timesheets when there, the client says, well, why have you charged me 10 grand for this piece of work? You've got no leg to stand on. So that's where the substantial.
Yeah, and the other big one when you're talking about blowouts on the jobs and stuff in surveying particularly is how many times do you get to site and something happens, right? So the client could be a development company or what have you, not the site foreman, the site manager. The surveyors, the trainees get to site, you know, maybe there's hold-ups from other trades or something like that. They can't get on that or whatever, there's work health safety issues, whatever it happens to be, but it blows out and that's your time, right? So, you want to be paid for that or whatever, so you have to be able to justify it. So, you know, surveyors, I think the young guys particularly need to be educated in all of those things. And then, you know, it's like, well, do you want to get paid or do you want me to not pay you? Do you know what I mean? Or what have you. So I think it's really important that they understand holistically what timesheets mean. It's not Big Brother making sure you've clocked on and clocked off. There's so much more information that comes from that. And I think that's an educational piece for a lot of the younger guys to understand that and to develop commercial thinking towards jobs from start to finish.
Okay. Can I ask, do you have to do timesheets at transport?
We do. They're not analysed very much.
Right, yeah, because that's the other thing, right? People think that you just do it because the boss wants it, but nobody actually looks at it and analyses it. And I always like the way Survey Plus, I think they have a very good analytical approach.
Look at it. So it's a single line.
Yeah. And so I think you've got that.
I don't have any problem with people doing it either. Like that's not something that.
Is that because you analyse it and you point out to them and they can clearly see what you're.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's just like that from when you start employment, this is what you have to do. And if you don't do it, you're pulled up on it immediately.
Rachel, do you do that as an annual thing? So you do it with your staff? Do you sit down with them and say, look, this is your analysis?
I don't personally, but yeah, our directors do.
Yeah, as a monthly?
No, I would think probably a couple of times a year, but they would also discuss issues with them as they come up. And I will discuss issues with them too. Like we have set things that need to be completed for each timesheet. And if something's missing, they get contacted.
Yeah.
Like what's happening here.
Yeah.
To do variations on job outside of scope. The task has to match the timesheet, has to match the job code.
Yeah.
It's quite regimented, but it's actually quite easy too. Just follow along. It's not difficult.
You should really review them when you're billing the job. Do you know what I mean? So you need to see if the job's been profitable. So you pull off all the time from the system, whatever you quoted or what have you, and just see where you land. You know, you want to be making a decent profit on each of your jobs. So yeah, you review it at billing time.
We review it two ways. Like every Monday morning, our accounts officer will go through all the timesheets from the week before, make sure everyone's are all in and everything's good to go. And then again, when we're doing invoicing.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
The only people we really have trouble with putting time in are our registered surveyors.
Yeah.
Everyone else, it's really not an issue.
Yeah, good. Yeah. No, that's excellent. Good process. Yeah. Yeah, it really is super valuable.
I'm not entirely sure, but it doesn't, I think they don't see the need also because they're invoicing out, they've quoted the job, they're invoicing out that they know what they've done, it's their job, so it's not such a concern to them because they're not losing the money either way and they can see everything else is moving along and they know where it went. I don't know.
With the registered, I think it depends on age and their role and how much they're actually doing the job themselves versus keeping track of time for business development.
Yeah.
So I've probably got the worst is the husband who's registered, but we know his billable time is going to be such a small percentage.
Yes, generally speaking,
and that's real. It's like the rest of it isn't billable time. It is business development. He's the HR person. It's all the other bits and pieces. So when it comes to the did you do your time for the job?
Yeah.
That's actually when we find we've actually really tried to get the Cheney's to be very diligent in what they're putting in.
Yeah.
Number one is a starting point so that as they go up, they maintain that habit.
Yes.
But also the amount of times their notes have been better than the other person's and you get the holes. And it's just like, all right, so you were where?
Yeah.
7 hours.
Yeah.
So like it took a long time, but I think we've at the moment got a good lot who the younger they are, if they get it there, they'll take it through.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Out on a lot of money because the previous company we got taken over and our timesheets weren't on par. Then we've been taken to this new company and we use this thing called Synergy where you put it in, it's very detailed, and our clients didn't understand. They thought there was an increase in price. Normal working clients, and I had to say, no, there's no working price. We're capturing all our time now. That's different.
Yeah.
We didn't charge before because we had no gap of time. Now we're capturing time, and they think our price has gone up. No, they haven't. We're just billing what we're working.
Indeed. And you know what? We used to, honestly, every month end or whatever, would go through timesheets at LTS and you'd find extra 10, 20 grand in variations that you could bill. Because how often do young guys go out on site or whatever and whoever's running the job or whatever will go, oh, while you're here, can you just do that? So it's not in the quote, right? And so if they don't fill in their timesheets and put all the extra stuff down, you can't bill it. Yeah.
About, I reckon, 5 to 10% of our clients said, oh, now you've changed companies, your prices have gone up. No, they haven't. We've just captured our
paying for what we've done for you.
Yeah.
Well, and because for so many years we have given away more than
so much. Yes.
Generous profession.
Especially in a small town where they know everyone and you know, it's someone they've worked with for 10 years.
We analyse each job and like from the timesheet, but it really needs to start at the quote because whoever's quoting it has to assess, okay, this allows for 4 hours in the field and 3 hours of calcs or whatever. But the people who are doing the quoting don't keep records of that. So when it comes to the end of the job and it might be a blowout or it might be close to the margin, who's done the wrong thing? Is it the people who are in the field or the draftees or whatever?
Exactly right. And all the reasons in the timesheets, right?
Well, it starts from the quote though. So
yes.
Has to
having a good quoting tool. Yeah, we built one at LTS actually, or what have you.
We have one that we provide. It's an ACS on the website. We actually have a tool. If you go onto your business resources component, just for those online, if you have a look there, you'll see that we've actually got a sales analysis tool. And the idea is that should help your quoting and your billing, and then once you come back, you should be able to do an analysis. And even if you just picked, right, we're going to sample, 5 jobs that we've done last month, let's see how they track against those and report back on how they're doing. And I think that will at least give you a starting point to analyse. And you've got to do it with all the team, right? You've got to put it out, and you've got to share it with the team meeting around, well, look, here's where we went wrong. And, either I didn't quote enough or, we did extra, the client asked us this. We're actually, so that you can help improve it from next time. And then you figure out how do we communicate this to the client. Because clients are right. You can't just all of a sudden start billing them more because you've identified that actually you should have been billing them more for a very long time. You've got to communicate that to them. They're usually happy to pay it if you can communicate the why, and which is why communication is going to be really key for everything that we do.
Yeah, 100%. We do that in our business to this day. Every single job has what we call the green sheet, which is the quote, the budget at the start of the job, right? So who's going to do it? So you call it a registered surveyor, we'll call it a Hadrian principal of the job, do you know what I mean? Then you have like a senior accountant, a junior, whoever, graduate, whatever, same structures as you have in surveying, right? But there should be so many hours from them, so many from them, these are the rates, blah, blah, blah. And that's an essential in the business. You must have that. So, because otherwise, how can you map against it? Do you know what I mean? It's super important to have that stuff.
And there's a performance, how you have that conversation.
Yeah.
What we also do is, so as the lead for a job, I do a check-in as well to go, well, how's my budget going that we quoted, and have we been doing out-of-scope work away from our core project, so that we should have that conversation early as opposed to waiting to the end of the project, trying to have a conversation with the client goes, I don't want to pay for that. I didn't ask you to do that. So we try to do a check-in in between, and that's my role to manage it, not the team's role. But the team's role is to do their timesheet so I can track budget to actual. That's why it's awesome.
Yeah, super good point. So, if your job is completely blowing out or something's going on, you want to be having that conversation with a client halfway through the job, not at the end when you're trying to issue a bill and then backfill and justify what's gone wrong or what have you. Yeah, that's client management.
Well, that is client management, and it's also another reason that you should have a payment program with the client. So you're getting a deposit and then interim payments, because if you only
a big job particularly,
at the end of the job, it's very hard to add on extra stuff. Whereas if you're doing interims, it's much easier to have a conversation. I know that's harder on the smaller stuff,
Yeah, it can.
How many people get a deposit or get upfront payments?
Has made the world of difference.
It's the new thing. More and more firms are doing deposits.
And also do the pay up front before you get it released.
Yes.
Which was probably the bigger the client, the bigger the developer, that's the one you can't do it to. Mums and dads will do it. And I've been called unprofessional for holding back. No, I'm not releasing that because you haven't paid.
Definitely, I think on the small jobs you need to do that. Pay the bill, you get your product, absolutely, get your plan.
I got a whole thing recently about it from this person. I was just like, well, I'm sorry, as you know, we've been doing this for how long, and well, look what's happened. We've got a discussion now, so how's it going?
Yeah, and you've got to be confident to do that, right? Yeah.
She was a bitch.
And you get those all the time. Yeah.
So don't do deposits?
Yeah, we do certain jobs, because we're multidisciplinary, it depends on what job it is if we ask, mainly the mums and dads jobs, we ask for 50%. If it's like a MERVAC, or we just let them go and just do the job. But it all depends on who it is. We read our client to work out what we're going to do.
The other one we've done recently is found with and it's one of those things, the peg boundary, which is a little thing, which is actually not an expensive thing, is also where they're the hardest to chase for money. A bunch of clients.
Yeah, they've got what they want.
Yeah. They don't need a piece of paper because the peg's in the ground.
Yeah.
So more recently we've just gone, well, that's 100% upfront.
Yeah, either that or you get to the point where you go, we don't work for those type of clients anymore. We don't do that type of work.
Yeah, we're
someone else. Yeah.
But when you're in a regional, I think that's when you go.
Okay, paying it up front.
It's when it starts as that, and then it's just like, oh, and you've come back 2 years later, and now you're doing.
Yeah, you want it? Yeah.
And that is the benefit too. Is you tend to know who's not going to pay you. Once you've worked there, not everyone, your new clients, you've no idea. But once you've worked there for a while, you'll have people who pay you every time without question, and you'll have people who are a pain every time. And we
decided, like, we had a horrible one last year, and my take on that was, oh no, we are trusting our gut every single time from now on. If they're a pain at quoting, you don't want them. That simple.
Or you want I would.
No, in buggerance, we already charge in buggerance. You can pick a person who's going to be paying and decide how much.
Pay something astronomical, and if they want to pay it, well,
yeah, no, we've done that, but then there's ones that's like, no, it's not worth it. It's still not worth it.
Yeah.
Or, you're going to be a difficult one, and they work. And then there's ones you're like,
yeah. Anyway, so I think we've just done a bit of an example here on how significant the difference can be in pricing correctly and also backing yourself to price for what your true value is and not underselling yourselves, right? So if you look at this table here, you can see there's 3 different examples. So there's low rates. So if you're billing relatively low, trying to win a job, medium rates that you're going to bill, or if you're going to back yourself into some fairly decent rates, right? So charge rate per hour in that column, obviously that's going to be difficult for you all to see, but we'll just broadly talk through it. Registered surveyor, survey technician, trainee. So this is kind of, rates of those, and then a cost rate per hour. So that's what you're paying them based on an annual remuneration of the stuff that's in the far column there, right? So we back calculate, the cost rate for each employee or each category of employee, then what we're going to bill them out at.
Except, can I just say, that's good. But there's all these add-on costs. You're going to talk about operational costs add-on onto that?
A bit later.
Thank
we'll
you.
just work through it. And we're keeping it.
It's not just their salary, right? It's the
No. We'll build that in at the end, all the operational costs, right? So this is just to get to your kind of gross margin sort of area, right? Okay, so
Can I just ask on that, are those just example figures? Or is that what
they're not the average hourly rate.
No, they're I'm just using them.
Okay,
it's much better than the average hourly rate example.
So we're just highlighting, you know what I mean, like the significant difference, you know what I mean, that it makes to sort of, push your prices up where you can, quote correctly, but actually just go to the point of analysing stuff well, so you do make profitable margins, good margins on jobs and stuff like that, right? So this is the one with the low level pricing, right? So we're going to say, so this is kind of how you would cost out your job, right? So you're going to go right over to detail level survey. We need a registered surveyor for a day, a technician and a trainee for 4 days, and drafting will take a day, right? So I'm going to charge the client this amount. Total fee for service will be $8,000, or adding on only 5% here to find out on the job, right? So I've got to factor in contingencies, cost per hour of the job over there, which that's all pulled from the table. So the job's going to cost us nearly $3,000. So we're going to make a profit of nearly $6,000 on that job, right? So then if we go to mid-level pricing, all the stuff is exactly the same, but you can just see we're gonna actually add 10% onto this quote because maybe there's some issues on site, or it's an ugly site or whatever. We're going to hack through bushland or something. We're going to end up with a fee of $13,000. It's going to cost us $3,500 or what have you. So we're making a bigger profit there. And then the high level pricing, of course, we might put extra 15% on if we're paying enough, because we know the client loves us, they've got nowhere else to go, and so we know they'll pay it anyway. So there's a whole lot of factors that go into pricing, but that just shows you that. So when we go take all those and we put the profit per job into, so that's the profit from each of those jobs, right? There's 13 weeks in a quarter, we've got 14 field crews out and about. So that shows profit per quarter, and it'll be annualised. That you can see there's a massive difference there in how much we make over the course of the year. So we've gone from 1.2 gross profit to almost 3 million just from different levels of pricing, right? So now we've built this to kind of show extreme levels, but it's not far off the mark, to be fair. If you back yourself at a high-end price, it'll make a lot more money at the end of the day. And then we'll build the operating costs into here, right? So we're going to say that if we look annually or what have you, they're probably, your operating costs probably about 25% of your gross fees, on or about, maybe more depending on where your salary sits. Deduct all that, net profit before tax figures there. So it goes from 770 to $2 million. Take out your tax, and you're left with 577 if we've gone low end pricing. So that's available for distribution to your shareholders or whatever, or reinvestment in the business. Medium level and then high level. So you can see there's a major difference in how the numbers play out, depending on how you price your jobs and what resources you allocate to make them profitable. All right, so the next part of that then is cash flow cycle, which is another enormous one. Again, so we've used that high-level pricing there or what have you, and say you do 2 jobs a week, that ends up being 28 grand. So this looks at a monthly cycle, right? So your income is one thing and your cash flow coming in, but you've got to look at your cost management as well, right? So if you're looking at that, you've always got your employee wage costs or whatever, wages, contractors, maybe you pay all your contractors under gap detection, potholing, drone pilots, whatever they happen to be. You've got your compliance costs, which you can't get away from, and there's set dates in every month or quarter that you have to pay them. Financing costs, lease payments, loan repayments, etc., all your general creditors and suppliers, and then your shareholders and business owners would like a return on their investment, so they like to get some dividends out of the business as well. So if you look at that as a monthly cycle, so general creditors, maybe you pay some of those at the end of the month or early in the new month. You might have payroll tax due in the second week of the month, then mid-month you're going to pay all your payroll, etc., and then maybe you've got your BAS payments and what have you at the end of the month, quarter, whatever happens to be. So your sort of weekly cash outflows are pretty consistent really at the end of the day, and you can forecast that really well. So you should always have that in your budget, cash flow budgets, operating budgets, etc., or what have you, and then reforecast those continually. So that's a standard cycle. But if we go to the next slide, which just shows us how they play out. So if we're going to invoice weekly or when the jobs are finished. So these are the 2 jobs with the 14K whatever income that we're making or whatever. So each week we're going to get almost 30K into the bank, and then these are our consistent outflows through week 1, 2, 3, 4 or whatever. So you can see our cumulative bank balance there is always healthy. We've always got money to cover our costs. We're always paying our bills, right? So that's all great. If you don't, and you're those surveyors that just love making their plans and getting back out into the field and doing all their crafty type related things, so they don't bother to do any invoicing till the end of the month or
Tomorrow's invoice day, right?
Month end. Who's got a month end? There should never be an ugly month end to invoice, right? Why is there even a month end, right?
We do it for Ausearch as well. We only bill you on the first of the month for Ausearch. We don't bill you ongoing.
Yeah. So, why is there month end? It's silly, right? Because you're going to wait so long to get paid. So particularly we're talking about some of those big property developers. I remember a few of them back in the day that they've got standard 60-day payment terms. So if you've finished your job in week 1, you haven't billed it, well, actually, month end's here, but let's be real, no one's got the invoice out for week 5. So you've got no hope of getting paid. If you're someone with a 60-day payment term like that, money's going to come in down here, you're already gone bankrupt by then. Do you know what I mean? So it's literally 3 or 4 months before you got any hope of being paid whatsoever. So, this one here, we've deducted one of the amounts of 14 because, again, sometimes with those jobs, we start quickly because someone needs something urgently or whatever, but the developer doesn't even know what the correct billing entity is yet because it's a big project and they're still setting it up and all that sort of stuff. So you send your bill out, this is even worse, and you put it into their system, their accounts payable system, and then no one pays it for ages. But if you don't follow up, till it gets to 60 or 90 days, and then you ring them, they go, oh no, it was billed to the wrong person. Can you change the invoice, please? So then, look, everyone's nodding, right? How many times have you all done that, So then you go, oh, okay, who do you want us to bill? And you change it and you send it back and it goes back in for the 2-month cycle to go again. So you might get paid in 6 months if you're lucky, but meanwhile, all your weekly costs are still coming out. So how are you going to fund them, right? What's that going to mean? So if you look over there, that's very real. So your bank account is always in overdraft. So you're going to pay all those costs to try and fund it, right? So it's really, really important that you pay attention to this stuff if you want to run a business that is not a constant strain. Who does payroll here? How often do you get there going, we've got enough money to pay the wages yet, Where's our cash coming? And what bills are coming up? Oh, there's no money and everyone stresses, It's like, oh, but you don't need to, right? Like if you literally just put this stuff in place, you don't have to worry about that again.
You can diversify with your clients. So have some of the big clients, but also have the little ones which are
cash cows. Yeah, absolutely, all those things.
I think part of our problem is that the surveyors do the invoices. Like
the shockers
but often the case is that the surveyor, so tomorrow or Wednesday, everybody's planning that they'll all be available because they'll be doing their invoices for the last month of jobs. And the surveyor is actually doing. Now, surveyors are good at surveying and they should just do surveying. They should not be doing invoicing. And so what we've got to do is we've got to come up with better ways so that you all can do the invoicing as you go, right? Rather than waiting to the end of the month.
What is so critical.
To do the invoicing.
I would say now, I've had to take over the invoicing more recently, and it wasn't from a surveyor. We got that moved on ages ago, and have moved on from it's being done once a month, moved on from being done once a week. I've got what's the target for a day.
Good.
What target do I need every day to make sure that I hit my monthly target? It's all well and good if they don't pay.
Yes.
And even if you're still chasing them and chasing them and chasing them, I think there's not just an industry-wide thing at the moment that everyone is tight.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
One conversation I have, so I'll come back to you, but one conversation I have with a lot of businesses is understanding what your daily cost is. So what does it cost to keep the lights on or operate a business? And I think everyone gets focused on billing. I need to bill this today, but are you billing enough to cover your cost? And how does your cash flow look like? So Tiff's got a very good outline of the outflow there, but what's your average running cost for the day? And if you can understand that as your break-even point or where you start, everything you bill on beyond that is your profit or is what you can reinvest in the business. So if you can understand what that average cost is, you've got a great starting point. Just don't focus on building alone. And how many of you guys actually do a cash flow? Like you can do a budget, but how many do a cash flow stuff? No? Not really? So how do you guys run cash then today? Just what's in the bank and got a few bills?
Yeah, look, we're definitely under-resourced in this area. Helen is or was a teacher and I'm just a surveyor. So all I do is bill. I was billing every morning, the first 4 or 18 months. Every single thing that I thought I could bill, I billed. But as far as cash flow or understanding, we're just basing our rates on the stuff that Michelle sends out and it seems industry-wide and like how I got out there. We're definitely on
Back one slide. I just want to stress this bit. However you do your cash flow, this is a great structure to start to bank up your costs because you think about it, your staff are your biggest asset, right? If you didn't have your staff, you wouldn't have it. So if you look at your cash flow, sure, the inflows will come in, you match your invoices to what needs to come through. But if you start going, what is my employee cost every month? Then you know that figure because it's payroll, but there might be other incidentals that come up, like the additional training, bonuses, or whatever that might be. But you start with, how do I cover my employee costs? Then compliance. The ATO will always require payment. They've just recently changed their rules around payment. They're not giving anyone payment plans anymore. There's no leniency. COVID never existed in their eyes. So they're going, if you can't pay, you shouldn't be in business.
And they're chasing people. Both my daughter and my husband got letters from the tax office last week.
Yeah. Outstanding tax returns.
Just they're auditing stuff. So one was about our private health fund, and they want from private health fund out of my husband, saying I didn't pay enough.
Yeah.
And my daughter's got a HECS debt.
Yeah.
And they're saying that she didn't pay enough tax, and so they're really coming after everybody. And I did see a presentation from the tax commissioner at the Coswell conference recently, and he actually got up and said, "If you haven't had a letter from us yet, it's coming."
Yeah, right.
Lovely. There you are.
Just to put more pressure on everybody with
the tax office is apparently the tax office is broke, and they need more money.
Bless them.
Yeah, so focusing on allocating some cash towards the compliance side, your GST, your any sort of company tax, that's also important because, as you said, the ATO is coming. They've got smart robots that track all the data now, so there's nowhere to hide like back in the day when people used to hide. Now they've got lenses across every aspect of your life. So try to budget for that. And then everything else as well. So that sort of levels of priority when you are cash flowing, whether you are sort of doing a simple spreadsheet or got something more sophisticated, focus on those buckets and then you'll have a great runway of what the next month or even the next 2 months look like, because that should be a rolling process for you guys.
It's all right. I was only going to say that our surveyors still like to see the invoicing and deal with it, but we will do up, based on the quoting or whatever, and then just run it past them. So they just have to check it off, sign it off, not actually deal with it.
I do think that's important as well, like that process, to be fair, because it is their client, you know what I mean? And it's easy to make an error, like it really is. So they need to be...
It's harder when you're smaller, so I think once you've sort of had a 20-person staff, it's quite sensible that you've got an accounts person. But some of the smaller ones... who haven't got anybody yet, they do have a surveyor, and that's a challenge, I think. So, this is just lessons for everybody on how to take it forward, really. So don't stress too much. It's only been 12 months. You'll be fine. That's right.
Have you got a bookkeeper?
Me,
No, just pay it.
Yeah, it's worth it. It's worth it.
Bookkeeper, a good one.
Yeah, our account.
Yeah, that's
It's very good advice, right? Do you know what I mean? And you don't have to have an in-house person when you're small because you don't need them all the time or whatever, which is why you do hybrid outsourcing stuff, right? Which is very valuable. But you don't want to get the compliance stuff wrong, which is your point, right? Do you know what I mean?
It's just, I personally found that was a baby that was hard to hand over years ago, right? And it wasn't it being trained in it or anything. It's just, I do numbers well. Yeah. And just, it's like, okay, how much you want? Jesus. And best thing ever did.
Yes,
and
definitely.
when it comes to the payroll, it's just like you're giving them the information for payroll. There's just that removal of if something goes wrong.
Risk factor is very important when it comes to payroll. To be fair, separation of duties, all that kind of stuff. The amount of fraudulent stuff that goes on in businesses is excruciating or whatever, but it is there all the time, right? So to have those controls around separation of duty on financial stuff is pretty important as well.
To make sure they're good, because there's bad ones too.
Oh, there are very bad ones. Yeah. Well, you've got to make sure they have some accounting experience. Do you know what I mean? A lot of people potentially have come through admin roles or they've been doing it in a family business or all those kind of things. Actually, I'm going to let you talk about that because how often do you see that?
Yeah, a lot.
Dodgy bookkeeping. Yeah.
It's sort of
kind of scary.
Part of your business, and then you just sort of learn bits and pieces over there, and you've got a lot of holes there as a result of not getting that process right. So.
Yeah, and they get them because they stay on top of compliance. And all the changes in compliance.
Correct. Well, it's the changes and things as well, that are important. Anyway, so that was our importance of cash flow stuff. All right, so one of the other really important pieces, risk management, HP, I might let you talk through these. I'll just flick them over when you're ready.
Yeah, so there's a couple of levels of risk. I think we're doing a session in the next month or so around risk management. But
that's for the Business Academy. That's separate. That's special. Not that you're not special.
I was going to say.
I'm just saying that's, and a more detailed, in-depth dive.
We're covering off a few.
This is high level.
Yeah, very high.
Let me put them all up, HB, and then you can talk through it.
Right, sure. So starting with strategic risk, where is your firm going? Industry change is a big one at the moment. We've got shortage in finding the right talent. So we're talking about EVP, employee value propositions, and sort of retaining staff. So we've got Tiff came into our business and installed a very nice employee value proposition program, giving a lot of flexibility to staff, ensuring that they have this concept of FOMO. I've got the fear of missing out if I'm not a part of the culture, whether it be birthday leaves, which Michelle's not a big fan of, but we do have a birthday leave.
You know about that? You know that one of the big things right now is that you get your birthday off.
I've done that personally for years, but I took it as annual.
Yeah,
We have a mental health day every quarter as well. So you get up one day and you just, I'm not feeling it today. The world's caving in, or my personal life's a disaster. Take the day off. It's fine. Just tell someone. We try and plan it. We try and, so within your
I'm
team.
going to have. It's not going to be good for me next Wednesday. I can tell them.
So it's about retaining your staff with programs that support them in their life, because their life affects how they come into work and the positivity and how they engage with other staff members. So if you can make them comfortable and them engaged in the process, you see a higher retention rate. And I don't think we've lost anyone except for the 2 or 3 people that we've had to let go because we've exited ourselves, but we haven't lost anyone because they're part of our team.
In return, though, they need to be, going above and beyond and respecting that. So we do exit people that fall through the cracks there and think they're going to take advantage of it. So it goes both ways.
This is an unpopular view, but I think you get 2 mental health days a week, Saturday and Sunday, and then
That's right, I'm with you. Come on.
And I'm just wondering when it's going to stop, when does it end? I appreciate that. I think that's
when you don't have any staff.
So I just
It's an interesting one, and it's a very valid point that you make, right, as a business owner and young people, right, or whatever. That's super important. The more you go through life and you sit in the HR seat or whatever, or the general manager seat, and you realise what some people have going on in their life, it's quite phenomenal, it's quite remarkable or what have you. And then if you're talking about people who give 150% every other day, 10 hours a day, which we all do, or what have you, every now and again when the wheels fall off, it's just like, you know what, go take some time. And that can save a person from going right down a rabbit hole or whatever when you're talking about family and stuff like that as well. And it means so much to a person in a moment who's genuinely suffering from something, not people that just want to go to the beach and hang out because they're lazy, right? We're not talking about those people, genuine stuff. It can save them in so many ways. And then also they feel so valued by that stuff, right? Then they really appreciate the support or whatever and stay with us. You know, we've had some people with some significant issues going on outside of work. And you can do things, you can kick them out and go, well, you know what, you can't work, we'll get someone that can. But I feel like just everything I've experienced over many, many years running businesses, it's much better. You know, you do get a few that take advantage of it or you just exit them, right? You know what I mean? But for genuine stuff and genuine people, it will serve you well to look after them.
No, I appreciate that. And I probably said that the wrong way. Like, you know, we've got people that take 10 sick days a year, every year.
Because they're entitled to it.
And the people that are good, and only 150%, so they're not going to take another off day, they'll keep working. And then the ones that are taking the 10 sick days suddenly get another 4.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
It's actually when you let someone take advantage of you, the rest of them get pissed off.
Yes.
Right? They royally get pissed off, and that actually creates another bigger problem. And it is about actually not just going, why do I have to tolerate it? It is actually about exiting them.
Yeah.
Because the poison they're putting into the business is far worse than the benefit they're doing of the days they are there.
And it is a cultural
That's a very good point. Very good point. Try and exit them.
If you know, the challenge that we've got is, but we're so short of staff, we could possibly lose them.
Yes, you can.
It's not worth keeping them, in my view, because they are poisoning everybody else.
And you know what? And everyone is just alluding to there, you get rid of them and then everybody else will want to step up or whatever and they'll cover it because they get looked after. You'll have more money. You can pay them bonuses and all that sort of stuff through tough times or what have you. Have you ever read the Netflix story, the book from the Netflix CEO?
It's on my list.
It's amazing. So they went through this period where they had to sack like 50% of their staff, right, during a period of time or whatever, and they were super worried about what that would do to the rest of them. And they literally all just stepped up, massive high-performing team culture or what have you, and it was amazing, you know, because they got rid of all the deadwood. So all the high performers, again, could perform and be creative and be well remunerated and all that kind of stuff. It's a really good read, actually. Throws upside down some of the modern management stuff. It's really
that's definitely a strategic risk that you've got to assess. I'm going to sort of power through some of these, just conscious of time, but operating risk is another big one. So do you have your quality review manuals up to date? So assessing how to handle, you know, incidents.
So certifications, work health safety, etc.
Absolutely, making sure you've got the right PI insurance to cover any sort of risk that arises as well, because sometimes people don't review their risk, their insurances.
Anyone that's worked for Meriton will know all about their PI claims.
We've got structural risk, so evolving from a sole trader into a company, into a trust, and with that brings a whole level of compliance risk, whether it be extra tax, capital gains that might need to be paid from moving from one structure to another. I'm not going to get too technical there, but just being aware of what's liable from a tax point of view. But if you're moving to a director, it's knowing your director duties as well. So paying your bills on time, paying your superannuation on time, meeting the ATO's compliance. They're all a part of that role of director in a business. So for you guys that are working with directors, is ensuring that those guys are compliant. And then finally, key person risk, and we spoke about succession planning briefly and what's next. It's the industry as a whole is aging, as we all understand. The accounting profession is quite similar as well. And it's actually identifying future leaders. That's a part of that EVP. You know, it's actually developing talent that will then be the future leader for your business and start to transition clients and work on a structure where they're incentivized with short-term incentives or even longer-term incentives, such as shares in the company, and they've got skin in the game. If you don't have that succession, I recommended like identifying what that is and coming up with that exit plan that we spoke about, even at an early stage of your business life cycle, is going, well, in the next 10, 15 years, our business may evolve in terms of a buy, a sell, a merger, or I might end up retiring. Who's going to be that next person that's going to continue the legacy? I'm not putting all the hard work in for this all to fall apart. So it's actually identifying talent today, coaching them, getting them involved in the right appropriate meetings, and shaping the business with you. And as they learn and grow up themselves, they're the next successor to come in. Now, you might not find someone, and it might be an opportunity to merge with another practice, or it might be that you sell your practice because you believe that selling it and joining another firm could enhance your skill set, your resources, but also access those clients that you really want to work with. So you've got a couple of options there, but finding that individual in your business is a great way to continue your legacy.
Okay, so we touched on this a little bit. Surrounding yourself with the right team is critical. And it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort to nail it, and then to keep it in play, I think. I'm not sure if there's anything else there, Hadrian, we want to talk about, is there?
No, not really, except for the fact that I always think of myself as, I'm the MVP of my team, and I can only be the best if I've got my team around me. And then my team is not only my staff members, but the coaches and advisors around. So, the bookkeeper, the accountant, if there's a lawyer involved in succession planning, have them in part of those conversations.
Your association.
Your association.
Association.
That, Michelle. And Michelle. But having these people around you really support you in driving that cash flow conversation, or the structural conversation, managing risk. So they're all about having that right EVP, but also having that right team.
But you know what I think is interesting, HP? We did an exercise. We have a quarterly, what we call RRR, right? Review, reflect, reset, whatever, and we all go out and have fun and stuff like that. And so we go back over the last 90 days and look at what we did in the business and what we achieved, and then set our goals for the next 90 days, right? And in our last one, we did this culture on a page exercise. So I think, and that was around psychological safety in the workplace and what is okay and what's not. So to tick the boxes on having all these things in your EVP, we did, or whatever, but did we really understand how every single individual in the business actually felt about the way people communicated within their individual divisions, in their pods, all that sort of stuff? And I think it was really quite interesting to see what people came up with in that space. So there were some people who didn't feel comfortable that their opinions were valued and all those kind of things, or what have you. And if we didn't do that, we wouldn't understand all those things. Yeah.
There's also the non-negotiables, what our team members don't want to see in the culture, that negative toxicity that comes part of not communicating well or not paying respect and listening to the other person's opinion. That all forms a part of your EVP where everyone is working in harmony, in the right direction as well.
Yeah, so I don't think you can ever assume that everybody is okay, even if you have all those things in place in your organisation, because when you start to dig a bit deeper, you might find out some people aren't real happy, or there's stuff going on in various areas that you weren't aware of. All right, who are our stakeholders? Righto, HP, where you go?
Yeah, so I spoke about our team, but as a CFO in a business or as the finance representative, you've got many stakeholders. They're the people that you interact with and engage with. You're going to have the shareholders, and the shareholders are basically looking for a return in their investment in the business. Sometimes it's the director, sometimes it's an external party. There'll be a board sometimes, and the larger firms, we've got a board ourselves that based in Italy, but Tiffany's a part of that, where they want to keep us accountable. They want to keep us on track to say, this is where you began with your budget. Have you achieved your billing target? What do your write-offs look like? What are some of your people issues? What are your clients? So they really take it to a strategic level, get you out from the weeds and look at a helicopter view of your business. And that's to really test you and say, as a business, are you still viable in the next 3 months? Are you on track to achieve what you're going to set out to achieve? Then you've got your management team, and these are the individuals running your business or running the teams itself, and that's looking at debtors, WIP, invoicing, client care. That is the day-to-day operations, and that's the crux of the business. Then there's employees, as we've already spoken about. That's all your staff members, and valuing them is important. Valuing our clients, our client value propositions. Are we engaging with them? Are we checking that they are satisfied with our work so they'll continue to be retained as a client? And where's our new organic growth come from? Where's our new clients coming from? Are we just comfortable with protecting our base, or are we looking to continuously expand? Because we know clients will move on. Some do get sticky and they'll do other projects with us. Others might use someone else. So how do we continue to look after our existing clients, but have that referral network as well? Our suppliers and engaging with the vendors around having the right terms to pay them, not paying them on the first day the bill is issued. They've given you...
Send your ACS bill. Pay that now.
But having a look at payment terms and sort of assessing your cash flow, working and negotiating with suppliers and building a great relationship with them. And then finally, your financiers and others. So you used to have a banking manager back in the day. Now there's brokers that help you with whether it be equipment financing or even loans themselves. So it's just making sure you understand your ecosystem, your world of individuals you engage with.
All right. Okay, stakeholder communication, what do they need to know? So this one I think is really important as a finance person when you're talking to surveyors. Don't assume they understand what you're talking about. I found that at LTS. You're talking in P&L terms, balance sheet stuff, whatever, and they're just thinking about cash, and it's very different, of course. Be careful of acronyms dealing with people. You understand that from surveying. When you come into a surveying firm, it takes you a long time to understand what, D and L is and a W as X and all those kind of things. But you get a head around it. And it's the same communicating on a finance level, right? So people want to know, if you have a look over here, this is from a dashboard that you can get, right? So if you're going to go and present a current ratio or a quick ratio, people are going to sit there and look blankly like, what is that? Really what you want to say is, yes, we've got enough money to pay the bills, which is all that means, right? So be really, we've got to be really careful in terms of how we talk to people. Read the room. One of the things that I've always done, or made sure I always did before board meetings, and still do to this day, is to consult with everybody that's going to be around the table before the meeting. So there's no curveballs in the room. Everybody understands everything that's going to go on, every decision that needs to be made. So they come in well informed. Put people on the spot, never get an outcome. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on that, HP?
No, well, I guess reports are a big thing. You can manage your invoicing, but the reports are a good snapshot of how you performed. And I don't just look at, when you say profit and loss, I don't look at whether we made a profit and loss this period. I look at the profit and loss to the budget that we set and where am I going to land at the end of the year. Because what I can then do then is say, well, I'm going to be short or above my budget. How much tax do I have to pay on top of that at the end of the year? I'm planning ahead, 12 months ahead, every month. Every month I go through that. So try not to look at just your profit and loss numbers and go, revenue, expense, I made profit. I'm happy, because next month you could be short, or you're playing catch up from January and February early this year. So keep looking. I call it a 3-dimensional profit and loss, which is looking beyond just going up and down the line.
But also important, I think, HP, to look at the variances as well. So if there's considerable variances in your costs and things like that, then you need to understand why.
That's right.
All right. Okay. So, and then as we've been saying, there are so many things that fall under the CFO umbrella, and depending on the size of your business, you're not going to be good at all of them. Nobody is, right? So you need to get the right advice when you need it, and it could be for a short period of time. It could be for a specific project. It could be to set you up with a operating rhythm, the way you need to fund from a financial perspective or whatever, but make sure you talk to the right people. So consider a hybrid finance function, and this is Hadrian's space. He's, very, very good in this space. There's a lot of external clients or whatever with different work. Did you want to talk through that, Hadrian, before we flick to the next one?
On this, I think traditionally it used to be called virtual CFO and outsourced CFO. We're calling it the hybrid finance function because today the finance function is driven by technology, whether it be Xero or MYB and all these functions there, and people. It's a combination of two. And you can outsource it, so you can have it with an outside party, or you can have someone in-house dedicated on finance. There's two different models. At the end of the day, it comes back down to cost and whether you would like to employ someone there full-time. You don't need a big CFO. Obviously, we're talking about CFO today and being the CFO in your business, but you don't need an executive CFO in your business, depending on the size. What you need is someone that is very good at handling the finances and understanding the concepts of the hybrid finance function. So if you go to the next page, the hybrid finance function, as I said, is broken into two components. One is the operational side of things, and that's your day-to-day management. So your budgeting, your cash flow, keeping on top of that. Cost management is huge. Obviously, we're all cost conscious, but it's not just going, oh, we've got a big bill today. It's like, what can we do differently? How can we talk to a different supplier to provide the same service, or even talk to our suppliers about negotiating on our fee and its payment terms? Performance management, you saw a couple of the dashboards there previously, but performance management is not only about the financial, it's also that productivity metric that we spoke about earlier around timesheets and understanding how your staff's production helps with the finances of the business. And then compliance. So that's very operational in nature. Taking it up a level is that specialist finance piece. So once you've got all that ticking away, it's starting to create that conversation that any board would have, starting to create that corporate structure around the risk management. Do we have a risk of losing any clients? Do we have a risk of blowouts in our WIP or our work in progress? Understanding our capital structures, business modeling, creating scenarios on what happens if we were to bill 5% more, 10% more, if everyone's expecting a pay rise, can we afford that? They're the scenarios that you can start to play. Strategic plan we spoke about a little bit, which is setting a goal for the year and constantly reminding yourself of, have we hit it? What are the key projects we want? Every 90 days is when we do our strategic plan, and it's actually assessing what projects we set up to achieve our targets every quarter. And that keeps us honest, and it keeps the project owners honest about heading in the right direction. Whereas if you set a plan and you keep on, it's like, oh, we'll create a great plan, it's in a glossy magazine, it's kept in the front desk, and you carry on with your business, you're swimming in a very different direction to what you're aspiring to achieve. Now, that needs to be aspirational, but also practical, right? You can't say we're going to be a $100 million business tomorrow without some clear actionable goals. So what determines that? A lot of the finance determines whether you can fund the next project. Is it a merger? Is it an acquisition? Is it new technology that you want to implement in your business? All of that comes from decisions around understanding your numbers and your finance. Do we have enough to invest in it? And then finally, asset finance, and that's sort of working with those brokers to get you great deals on lending for asset equipment. So you can see how there's two levels there. One's that operational, but one is that strategic, which is ongoing, but can also be very bespoke and specialized to your business. With a hybrid function, you can have certain components internal, or you can have certain external. That's the flexibility with the hybrid finance function. You can pick and choose certain aspects of it. You can have a bookkeeper do just your payroll, and you could be managing, this is probably not advised, you as a business owner manage the financing and the bank recs. But you managing the bank reconciliations, what are you missing out on in your business? Is it the next client conversation? Is it retaining that future leader and developing their talent? So outsourcing that component to a bookkeeper frees you up to focus more on the bigger plans of the business and where it's heading and what really matters for your business. So that's the concept of the hybrid finance function. Where we play a role in for our clients is a combination of two. Some clients request us to manage payroll, to keep it independent from the staff members within the firm. Or they might ask us to do some scenario planning for them, and we sit down every month and we talk about different situations based on budget, how much tax you've got to pay, and a lot of that cash flow conversation. So we become a part of your team in a way, delivering to your expectations, delivering to your budget and target, and we keep you honest. So it creates a level of segregation in one way to say we're an independent stakeholder or business advisor coming in to question how you're managing finances. Not to sort of say that you don't have to do your role. It's more about, is that the right invoice to be raising for this month? Have we billed everything? Have we worked with the right suppliers to manage costs? Do we really need to pay that invoice this month, or can we do it next month? What's more important, super or an invoice to a supplier that we can push out for another 2 weeks?
Super won't be issues.
No, it won't be. Pay as you go.
Yeah, but I think the nicest part of that, or from my perspective anyway, is there's so much value in getting someone external to help you do a strategic plan, a budget and a forecast, and then like a quarterly check-in just to see how you're going. So that's kind of the stuff that when you get too busy in the day-to-day, you probably don't do yourselves. And it's nice to have an external party doing it because it's a different set of eyes looking at your business and picking up things that you won't necessarily see. It's always a great option to look at an external provider for that kind of stuff. Anyway, that I think is all from us. Does anyone have any questions or anything they would like to discuss?
Great.
Just on the, and this might be what you're thinking, but the wage versus the hourly rate, is there a sort of an industry standard that, you know, if you booking someone out at $300 an hour, well, they're going to make $80 an hour? What are the sort of metrics around that? Or is it a different conversation? That's fine.
Well, no. I think the average is, what is it, 3 times or something? Is that the current?
In accounting, it certainly is. It's about 3 times.
3 times.
That's what my dad told me when I was like 10.
Yeah, I don't think it's changed. I don't think it's changed.
And so that's on the raw, like, wage plus super?
Yes, I would include their whole salary package. The problem is, for us, salary package includes a car and equipment and all that sort of stuff. So I would just do it probably on the raw salary. I wouldn't include the car and super. I don't know.
Salary and super.
Salary super plus any registrations, memberships, like
yeah,
which is not, that's a small component. But yeah.
And
most people do it just on salary and super though, because it's an easier calculation.
yeah, just for
Some of that other stuff's just sort of operational. So, you know, like paying for your team to be here or going to, you know, to make sure they get the 15 points or whatever that might be, you know, that's sort of a business.
John, do you know why it's 3 times?
Why is it 3 times?
So you got to divide it by
Because it
3.
counts.
So one is the employees, so employee costs,
Oh, yeah,
operational costs, and then the rest is the profit for the business, continue the business. That's why it's divided into 3.
Can I ask, because it's such an old number, does it get reassessed and revalued as to whether it's still relevant or whether those percentages have changed?
I think it's a guide, to be fair. You know what I mean? Like, that's a broad... Yeah, I do know what you mean. It's a good benchmark, right? But everything like that is just a benchmark. Do you know what I mean? And there's so much in it between, well, you know, what you're pricing, what you're looking at, who you're paying, resource shortages. If you're going to pay more, sometimes salaries can be out of whack and too high. It's a very big discussion. Do you know, we could talk about it all day.
Percentage that of your cost that is salary
in
a survey business is significantly different than if you're a manufacturing business. So,
Correct.
You know what I mean? So like,
yeah, or a high-end consulting business. Do you know what I mean? I've been in a business where salaries were as much as 80%. Do you know what I mean? And people were, but it was true because I'm very high-end.
In the association sector, salary, all we do is serve you, right? So we don't have other stuff.
Yeah.
Ours are only 60%, but the average in associations is 80%.
Yeah. I worked in a high-end consulting business before in supply chain or whatever that was very similar, or what have you. So, I'm not sure what's the accounting standard at the minute? Or benchmark, I don't know. It's not that much. Ours aren't that much, but more like, yeah. I do think it varies a lot. Do you know what I mean? Depending on, exactly what type of business and where you position yourselves. High-end construction would be
try to
different.
explain it to your staff that a third of what I charge you out at is for me.
You don't say that.
It's more about
That's to reinvest in the business.
It's to reinvest in the business, to get the business sustainable.
Yeah. And as far as sharing information with the team, that's something that I'm interested in as well. You know, because obviously you sit down and we do look at all, like, I'm currently doing all the invoicing, which has been advised against, and we're looking into ways to get rid of that. But, you know, and I see every single timesheet and lines and what have you, so that's fine. But then you go and talk to someone and you go, oh, you know, you way overs, that's fine, you can talk hourly, but and they've got access to a lot of the numbers, especially the surveyors who have access through our trade to the numbers. But how much information do you give? You know, like the idea of talking about, okay, we want to hit $1, $2, $3, $4, or $5 million turnover this year. Like, where does that sort of fall in general surveying?
I think.
How much do you share?
Yeah, I think some of them. I think you can share it in percentages rather than, like, you don't need to share with them all your financial whatever. And I would be interested to know, you know, probably most of you here, I think probably in your businesses you share it in percentages. So our goal is to grow 10% or 20% this year. We're on track with 5%. What we need is 5% more sales, or we need to reduce our costs by 10%, or, you know, whatever that might be. So I think you can talk about percentages. And I think SDG do our sales. You have a sales meeting every whatever, don't you? And you do percentages across, here's how we're tracking on our sales targets.
Monthly, we get to see how we're tracking.
Yeah, but on percentages, not on the actual dollar figures.
Yeah, you can't see the overall targets, but you can see how we're tracking against what we planned.
Yeah.
So with your surveyors, say you're registered, or not necessarily registered, but the team leader type surveyor that's managing a project, does he have access, him or her, sorry, have access to the numbers, like, the quote's 10 grand, like our quotes are written up.
I think
I think every job would see that.
if you've got a team leader that's over a job, they need to know how those jobs are tracking.
Yep.
If
And also, how can you judge performance? How can you, if the person who's doing the work doesn't know how much the job's worth?
Yeah, how many hours or whatever. I'm just always interested about that because, like, when I was, when we all come through, I remember looking at the quote, I'm only out there for a day, how do they charge me that sort of thing? I just didn't know whether that was what it is, that's what the quote, so that's what we're trying to hit, the hours, or whether it's all pared back and given them sort of.
Well, no, I mean, my personal view is the more transparent you are with your team, the more likely they are to have greater buy-in to the business, for you to potentially bring them in as partners later on, and for them to understand the why of what you do. So it comes, I think, back to the strategy of what you're doing. And I think part of the problem we have in the industry is that for too many years, it's all been hidden away and nobody's actually known. And there's just this thought that, that the boss is just raking in the dough, when actually very few bosses have raked in the dough in surveying because we haven't been transparent about the cost of it. It's like a graduate who comes out and says, I want 120K. So you say, that's with your car and your equipment and your leave and your da-da-da-da-da. You're already on 130 with all of that, but your base is 80. Right? Because they don't understand, they have no concept of the cost of your equipment alone. They just have no concept. And so I think, we've got to be open and transparent about that at the interview stage and say, when they're asking for a salary, and say this, because, that's a huge, huge cost to what you're doing. So I think being open and transparent without having to bear the facts and figures of the balance sheet necessarily, I think that you can share with them, but certainly the job by job, they need to know. How can they be accountable for that? And the idea of, because more and more now I'm seeing people don't do a quote, like every job is quoted at a day rate. Whatever, it's going to be a day. That job, a detail survey, a day. IDENT, a day, whatever, a day. Whether it's going to take you 2 hours, 4 hours or 8 hours, everything is quoted at a day. And so you're showing that to them and saying, quoted a day, but it only took me 2 hours. So then you pull out the one that they did last week that took them 3 weeks that you've only quoted a week, right? So it swings and roundabouts, and you've got to explain that to them, because otherwise they only see the, wait a minute, you're raking in 80% on every job, when really you're not. And so you've got to highlight the jobs where you've lost money as much as the jobs that you've made money in those team meetings.
The other thing is, if something's been quoted for a particular person at a certain level, and for whatever reason that job is then done by someone higher or lower, completely blows it. Yeah. You're right. We've got someone who's Yeah, exactly. It's as though we've had someone who's recently become registered, and so they're partway through jobs, so their charge out rate's actually just gone through the roof. Completely affects all of the budgets for that, etc. And similarly, if you've got someone who's more junior, but you're going, that's a good training job, so the time's going to blow out to what was actually quoted, but it's worth it because they're training up and stuff. And I think in getting them to understand the quote and then also the invoice, it's like our person who's just become registered, he's actually really good pricing-wise construction, not so good pricing-wise with the smaller stuff, and it's quite interesting to see. And it's like, oh no, that'll only be bloody blow. I'm like, right, any reason it's gone 3 times over? It's only a small thing, but it's 3 times over. It's not just those add up. And so, yes, they need to see it and they need to understand it. I mean, in that tracking, Ed would tell you, AbTrack will do
They're going to join us later today. It's great.
As other software will do it also, as in you can track in AbTrack write-offs when you're actually putting the time against an invoice. And you can create your own categories. And so literally I have a training, like it was, someone more junior doing the job, or similarly if someone more senior's come in and done it, and then I do actually also have the dog's breakfast.
Is that code?
Yes.
We all have them jobs.
I have a dog's breakfast where it's like no matter how much you've gone, factored in, that's not looking like a nice one, it's going to be more whatever's happened, they get out there, markets to be found.
I think it's super important to be transparent as you can, or as transparent as you are comfortable with as a business owner, because that matters as well. But if you can explain the why to people for everything, then it improves everything that they do. Do you know what I mean? And it also matters because one of the things you can do to get them to perform better is incentivise them with bonuses and stuff like that. So then to report on how they're tracking towards that is also good as well. But the more commercial everyone can be, the better, and particularly people who are coming up to management level, because they're going to be out managing clients on site and all that kind of stuff. So they're going to be the ones that are at the coalface, if you like, talking to clients or whatever. So they've got to have a good understanding about what's involved and all those kind of things, and be able to explain why jobs blew out, why they're being billed variations and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, I like to be as transparent as humanly possible. We are all here running a business at the end of the day. Yeah.
Except Rick, he's not. And he just gets told what the budget is, pretty much.
You don't even get told them.
You don't even get told what the budget is, do you? Yeah. Eventually they tell you. Yeah. You have very, very little control over any of that, right?
Well, yeah, especially the fine stuff. But private sector, like I worked private sector for 8 years and went through that similar sort of thing. And I was annoyed that the directors never showed much transparency in the financials, and that really annoyed me. Didn't seem to annoy other people, but annoyed me.
So anyway. You'd like to see how much it costs, though?
Say again.
So in the transparency about the financials, there's the cost of what, you're thinking, well, I'm getting paid this much and they're charging out this much. And I think if you want to have full transparency, you want to see my insurance invoice, you want to see this bill, you want to see that bill, you want to give, you know what I mean? It's like, if you really want transparency, give transparency.
Oh, I agree.
Extra costs.
They don't understand, and lots of people would be annoyed about that or whatever when I was in surveying or whatever, and would come and ask me. And I would literally sit down and bang on about it for hours to anyone that wanted to listen. Here, let me show you the whole deal. Here it is. Yeah, they'd be like, all right. Now
especially insurance.
It's extortionate, isn't it?
It's absolutely. Any questions online? Just conscious we don't want to rule any of you out. Any questions online before we break for morning tea? Comments, feedback, thoughts? Did we scare you off, Marcus? You're like, what did I do? What did I do? Okay, all right, we're going to break for morning tea. We'll come back at